In the last lecture, we created a connection to our database, or an interface. So we had this in our shared project, and we looked at Android and iOS and got the database connection. So I'm just going to close these up. And what we have to create now is some code to actually access our database, to insert things, delete things, and get a list of things we generally have inside there. So under Just Do It X10, let's right-click and add a new file. We want an empty class, and let's call this database. Now this class is going to hold all of the code to access the database. So to do that, we need some using statements. Of course, we'll be using SQLite. We'll be using Xamarin Forms. We'll actually be using system.collections.generic because we're going to need lists, and using system.link to do some fancy conversions and various other things with link because it's really useful. Okay, down here inside our class, the first thing we need is a class level variable, and this is going to be private, so nothing else can access it, SQLite connection, and then type underscore connection. The underscore has no relevance, it's just part of the variable name. Inside database, which is our initializer, we have to create that connection. So underscore connection is equal to dependency service dot get, and then we want a type of ISQLite dot get connection. So that code we wrote in the last lecture is now coming into play here to allow us to fetch this connection. If we try to access a database and a table in that database and it doesn't exist, we're going to have a problem. The way around that with SQLite databases is to actually create the table each time you access it. It'll only create the table if it doesn't exist. So if you hit create table and you already have data in there, nothing will be done, nothing will be changed. And we want to create a table, and this table is going to be our to-do list item. And this is turning up red because we haven't actually created it yet, but we're going to get there. Then we need a method to actually get the to-do items. So let's say public, and we want a list returned from this, and again we want a to-do list item, and we want to call this get to-do items and create our method. And then this is simply one line of code, and we're going to return from t in underscore connection dot table, and we want to check this table, so I'm going to copy this word there, and we want to select those items, and we want to cast them to a list, to list. So what this does, it gets all of our to-do items from this connection and this table. Then of course we need to actually add a to-do item. So let's have public void, because we're going to return nothing from this, add to-do item, and this will be a type of to-do list item, and this code is simple enough. We say connection dot insert, and we pass it the item. And then, just for convenience, if we have a whole bunch of things that we want to add, we can create another method which will be public void add to do items with an S, and this we're going to pass a list of our to-do list item, and we will call this list items. Open our braces, close them, and then in here we're going to use a C# feature which is for each, so it goes through each item in this list of items. So we will say open brackets var item in items, and then underscore connection dot insert item, and close it off. So just to reiterate, this for each is going to go through each and every one of these, and every time it gets one, it's going to insert it into the database. That should be all we need for now. The next thing we have to do is actually create this data model that I've referred to here, to-do list item, and that's what we'll do in the next lecture.